Good morning, YouTube. I'm going to pick up in Genesis. Um, I'm trying to keep up with what chapter. It's kind of hard because I'm reading it like a book instead of, you know. So this is chapter 17. And I guess this is 17. I'm going to pick up chapter 17 and 18. And Abraham said to Hiah, let this Ishmael live before thee. And Hiah said to Abram, Yea, behold, Sarah, thy wife shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant to be a God, to be Hiah to him, and to his seed after him. And concerning Ishmael, behold, I have heard thee, and behold, I have blessed him, and will increase him and multiply him exceedingly. 12 nations shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to thee at this time in the next year. And he left off speaking with him, and Hiah went up from Abram. And Abram took Ishmael, his son, and all his homeborn servants, and all those bought with money, and every male of the men in the house of Abram, and he circumcised their foreskin in the time of that day, according as Hiah spoke to him. And Abram was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And at the period of that day, Abram was circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his house, both those born in the house and those bought with money of foreign nations. And Hiah appeared to him by the oak of Mamre, as he sat by the door of his tent at noon. And he lifted up his eyes and beheld, and lo, 3 men stood before him. And having seen them, he ran to meet them from the door of his tent, and did obeisance to the ground. And he said, Hiah, if indeed I have found grace in thy sight, pass not by thy servant. Let water now be brought, and let them wash your feet, and do ye refresh yourselves under the tree. And I will bring bread, and ye shall eat, and after this ye shall depart on your journey, on account of which refreshment ye have turned aside to your servant. And he said, So do as thou hast said. And Abram hasted to the tent to Sarah, and said to her, Hasten, and knead 3 measures of fine flour, and make cakes. And Abram ran to the Pecan, and took a young calf, tender and good, and gave it to his servant, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and he set them before them. And they did eat, and he stood by them under the tree. And he said to them, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he answered and said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will return and come to thee according to this period, seasonably. And Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard at the door of the tent, being behind him. And Abram and Sarah were old, advanced in days, and the custom of women ceased with Sarah. And Sarah laughed in herself, saying, The thing has not as yet happened to me, even unto now. and my Lord is old. And Hiah said to Abram, why is it that Sarah has laughed in herself, saying, shall I then indeed bear? But I am grown old. Excuse me, y'all. And Hiah said to Abram, why is it that Sarah has laughed in herself, saying, shall I indeed bear? But I am grown old. Shall anything be impossible with Hiah? At this time I will return to thee seasonably, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said to her, nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men having risen up from thence looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abram went with them, attending them on their journey. And Hiah said, shall I hide from Abram, my servant, what things I intend to do? But Abram shall become a great and populous nation, and in him shall all the nations be of the earth be blessed. Shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. For I know that he will order his sons and his house after him, and they will keep the ways of Hiah to do justice and judgment, that Hiah may bring upon Abram all things whatsoever he has spoken to him. And Hiah said, the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah has been increased towards me, and their sins are very great. I will therefore go down and see if they completely correspond with the cry which comes to me, and if not, that I may know. And the men, having departed thence, came to Sodom, and Abram was still standing before Hiah. And Abram drew nigh and said, wouldest thou destroy the righteous with the wicked, and shall the righteous be as the wicked? Should there be 50 righteous in the city, wilt thou destroy them? Wilt thou not spare the whole place for the sake of the 50 righteous, if they be in it? By no means shalt thou do as this thing is, so as to destroy the righteous with the wicked. So the righteous shall be as the wicked by no means. Thou that judgest the whole earth, shalt thou not do right? And Hiah said, if there should be in Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole city and the whole place for their sakes. And Abram answered and said, now I have begun to speak to Hiah, and I am earth and ashes. But if the 50 righteous should be diminished to 45, wilt thou destroy the whole city, because the 5 wanting? And he said, I will not destroy it if I should find there 45. And he continued to speak to him still, and said, but if there should be found there 40, and he said, I will not destroy it for the 40's sake. And he said, will there be anything against me, if I shall speak? But if there be found there 30, and he said, I will not destroy it for the 30's sake. And he said, since I am able to speak to Hiah, what if there shall be found there 20? And he said, I will not destroy it if I should find there 20. And he said, will there be anything against me, Lord Hiah, if I speak yet once? But if there should be found there 10, and he said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. And Hiah departed when he left off speaking to Abram, and Abram returned to his place. And I'm going to stop there. I'm going to pick up at Genesis chapter 19, my next read. Peace and blessings, YouTube. and I'm out of here.